Parasites are organisms that rely on other organisms to make their living. They couldn't survive without their hosts. From fleas in the fur to worms in the gut, they take benefit and give nothing back. So clearly, the host would always rather be rid of these unwelcome guests. To avoid being kicked out, parasites have had to evolve a whole arsenal of methods to fend off the immune system. There's a wide range of different parasites out there, and each of them has its own mechanisms for sneaking in under the immune radar. On the very simplest end of the spectrum, we have viruses. They actually occupy a sort of grey area because scientists still debate whether they're considered living organisms at all. There's a wide range of different parasites out there, and they each have there's a wide range of different parasites out there, and they each have their own mechanisms for sneaking in under the immune radar. On the very simplest end of the spectrum, we have viruses, and they occupy a sort of grey area because scientists still debate whether they can be considered living organisms at all. Some viruses, like Ebola, kill off their hosts really quickly and move on. They don't bother to keep a low profile because they're only there for the short term. But the classic example of a long-term virus is HIV, or human immunodeficiency virus. HIV enters the body and goes straight for the immune cells. It targets CD4 T cells, one of the very cell types responsible for maintaining protection against invaders. It enters the T cell without being killed off, and once inside, it's shielded from the rest of the immune system. The T cell's membrane covers it like a stealth cloak, still expressing the surface markers that tell the rest of the immune system, "Don't attack, I'm a friendly." If this were a movie, HIV would be the type of criminal that doesn't avoid the police, but goes and kidnaps an officer and puts on his uniform. Malaria isn't quite so bold, it only goes as far as to steal an innocent janitor. It blasts its way into a red blood cell, which is responsible for delivering oxygen all around the body. The parasite starts to digest the insides of the cell, and long before it's ready to come out again, the red blood cell is no longer looking like its normal limber self. If it went through the spleen, it would be spotted and destroyed. So instead, the parasite steers it into a nice secluded spot in a blood vessel somewhere, where it sticks to the wall and allows the parasite time to reproduce. Some eukaryotic parasites confound the immune system with antigenic variation. The organism that causes sleeping sickness is called Trypanosoma brucei, or the African trypanosome. It's totally extracellular and doesn't go and hide inside cells, so the immune system can quite easily find it, recognize its surface markers, and use them to target an immune response. These markers are called antigens, and all the trypanosomes expressing the same set of antigens will be killed. But before the immune system can mop up the last one, the trypanosomes do a complete switch of their surface proteins. Like any other organism, the trypanosome has a lot of proteins on its surface membrane that perform specific tasks, and these can't be changed without damaging their function. But unlike the others, Trypanosoma brucei has another dense coat around the outside that covers them all up. It's made of variable surface glycoproteins, or VSGs, and these are what the immune system targets. Different VSGs are coded for by different genes, and the trypanosome can actually switch between the genes whenever it needs to. And it has a huge archive of over 1,000 VSG genes, and it switches from one to the next in a set hierarchical order. This happens faster than the immune system can adapt, so by the time antibodies are made to the old VSGs, the trypanosome has already switched to a new set, which the immune system isn't targeting. And then there are the nematode worms. They're round, unsegmented worms, and a number of species live in your gut. They secrete neurokinin B, with a molecule called phosphocholine attached. This suppresses the host's immune system. You've got a complex and multifaceted array of defense mechanisms designed to destroy any invader, and all of it's unable to hurt it. And it doesn't just put a wet blanket over the entire immune system either. That will leave the body unable to defend against other threats, and the host would get sick or die, which would ruin the worm's living. Instead, it's surgically precise, stopping only the attacks directed towards the nematode, and allowing the immune system to keep safeguarding its safe little haven. This could have great medical applications. At the moment, we have a problem with organ transplants. We need to suppress the immune system to protect the organ from being rejected, and it often leaves the patient vulnerable to other infections. If we could harness this ability to protect just the organ, it could provide a much easier alternative to the stem cell approaches still in development. So you can see that despite their unflattering image as degenerate lower life forms, parasites are actually brilliantly adapted to their lifestyle, with specialised machinery and sophisticated adaptations to make their living inside their hosts. In fact, you could say they're some of evolution's finest pieces of engineering. In a later video, we'll talk about the similarities between these parasites and a fetus developing in the womb, so stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, and remember to spread the science.